someone who, over the past few months, an Australian who has become extremely popular around the world, is citizen journalist Rukshan Fernando, whose online news show on YouTube, I urge you to check it out, is called The Real Rukshan. And he has relentlessly chronicled the craziness of the COVID lockdowns in Victoria, the madness of mask mandates, and now the protests against mandatory vaccinations and vaccine passports that has ripped Melbourne and indeed Australia apart at the seams. Interestingly, when COVID first hit, Rukshan Fernando was making wedding videos and photos. As lockdown began to cripple Victoria, he turned his talents and his camera onto what was really going on. He joins us now. Rukshan, great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, everyone.
Well, you've been a tremendous success and congratulations. And this show was the first show to introduce Andy No to Australians, a citizen journalist in America. You've done an extraordinary amount of work. Tell us briefly how you came to be a citizen journalist.
Yeah, sure. So obviously the lockdown did put the wedding industry, shut it down completely. And I think we're one of the industries that are most harshly affected by these lockdowns. So I'm going to be out of work for a long time. So I thought instead of moping around at home, how can I use my skills? Obviously, I have a lot of interest in what's happening in terms of politics as well. So I thought how I could turn all this into, something productive during that time. So some people took to knitting, some people took to making, cooking at home, but I took to, starting a career in independent journalism. And first it started with, a bit of online comparison videos and some memes. But then I decided I think it's important I actually go onto the street and start talking to people, because I think that there's a very important story that's not being told.
Rukshan, we've got the clip. You soon came to the attention of the police in the police state of Victoria. Here's a clip of them harassing you last year.
We've got a letter here. It's been signed by the Luke Cornelius, Assistant Commissioner. Yep. Just about tomorrow's what action? What's tomorrow's action?
Well, because this is the second time that you guys have come here. I'm a reporter.
That's fine.
Okay, I do press work. I do media work. So I don't know why the police keep coming to my house to harass me and to intimidate me, man. It's really unfair. How do you have my address?
We're the police.
I know you're the police, but why are you looking up journalists?
So what happened after that, Rukshan, and how often do you get hassled by the police for simply pointing a camera at what is going on?
Yeah. At the start, it was time, and that was towards a lot of the independent press that are covering these type of protests. But since then, it's dropped down a little bit. I think maybe aware of that I'm not backing down, that I'm going to be attending these things, because I think that was some sort of intimidation tactic, because, just to stop this kind of independent coverage of what's happening at these protests, because it does definitely show a different perspective than the controlled message of the government and the police through the mainstream media.
James.
I want to ask you about the mainstream media there, and a lot of them have been, of course, very dismissive of your work, whereas a lot of the people you're covering have been very positive to your work, and they seek you out and they want to talk to you. Do you think the mainstream media is more upset that you are basically breaking their gatekeeper role, or do you think that the thing that really upsets them is that you are basically showing that the 18, 20 months of Dan Andrews' harsh restrictions, harsh lockdowns is both not working in terms of solving the coronavirus problem and also causing a hell of a lot of problems in society more broadly that they simply refuse to cover because they're so ideologically invested in keeping the lockdowns going?
Yeah, look, I think recently I've noticed they've just become triggered by the fact that I, call myself an independent journalist. But I'm going out there, I'm doing the work, I'm talking to the people, and that's at the heart of journalism. And they're not prepared to do that work, I feel, because I see those journalists there, I see the reporters there, I see their cameras there, and they're always pointing at things which, suit their agenda, suit their narrative. And it confuses me. They have a very chummy relationship with the police, which is fine. I get access to the police, but people are there and the people want to talk. When I point my camera at people, they have stories to tell. And it's not always a story that's portrayed in the news later that night, on the mainstream channels. So I feel people, they come and talk to my camera because, I'm willing to listen. and they dismiss mainstream reporters at these events because they've seen how they've been portrayed and covered, and they know it doesn't actually reflect the reality of what's happening on the ground. Definitely, there's a disconnect between what the mainstream is covering and what independent coverage is showing. And I think it's on the journalists in this country, it's on people that are in the mainstream media, because I feel they have really failed to come to the forefront during this very crucial time in our country to actually tell these important stories. And they've just taken on the role of, pushing the agenda, pushing the narrative. And I think that they've just failed to be balanced in that approach.
We've just been showing some of your footage, Rakshan. Rita?
Well, yeah, and they've been pushing, I think, the media, some of these false flag fantasies. The woman who got pushed over we played earlier, there's a conspiracy theory. It's not really an older woman. It's a 30-year-old man. It's all just a false flag operation. And also this footage we just played of yours from Monday, which kicked off this week of protests of construction workers and others who then joined in. That Monday at the CFMEU offices, you were there, you filmed for hours. Who was there? And was it infiltrated by right-wing imposters and other troublemakers? Or were they the CFMEU members who were upset about the vaccine mandate and upset with John Setka, the union boss, for what they said was caving into the state government?
Yeah, look, they were definitely construction workers. They're definitely tradies. Whether they were all 100% they're members of the CFMEU, I can't speak to that. But definitely, at least 90% of the people that were there were members. Were construction workers. So the characterization of a particular protest, and I took offense as well, because I was there actually filming everything and talking to people. And to later see, I think Bill Shorten referred to them as baby Nazis or man baby, something like this. And I took offense as well. And I think the next day when I went to the protest to cover it, a lot of the people that attended that day, a lot of them were offended by that as well from some of the coverage that I did. So the way they're trying to portray this as being, organized by these fringe elements, these right-wing elements, I think it totally dismisses the actual grievances of people who are there worried about a really real issue, which
Rita.
is their go for it, Rita.
I was also going to ask you about the attacks you've copped just in the last week, since your footage from that Monday was widely used by other media who weren't there, who weren't right at the front. The Age did a hit piece on you. I saw a SBS journalist, a taxpayer-funded journalist, do a series of ridiculous tweets trying to paint you as someone who's got some sort of a dangerous agenda to push. I don't know exactly what point they were trying to get to. And I saw a Labor politician, the member for Laylaw, Joanne Ryan, also really be dismissive of you. Let's have a look at the tweet she sent yesterday. She quoted the SBS journalist and she said, "The wedding photographer." Tell us about your response to that, you being dismissed as someone who shouldn't be taken seriously because you're just a lowly worker. You're just a wedding photographer.
Yeah, I take great offense to that because, I've grown up in this country. I've, the values and the things have pushed me in the direction of my career. They're things that I'm very proud of. So I have no problem coming from a working background, coming from a business background. And I think that actually helps me inform the way I approach people as well. Like, it's good to have those types of life experiences. So to dismiss someone based on their career and to say that can't then transition into something else and there's no value in other things they've done in their life is just, it's just ridiculous. And it goes to show you that, this is how they downplay it. This is how they, they want to control everything and they don't like these outside voices. And I think, voices like mine and many other independent media voices I've seen will really challenge some of these mainstream, journalists and even these politicians that pretend that they just, they're the only ones that should be allowed to have an opinion on these matters.
James.
I want to ask you, too, it's not just, or is it more than just this vaccine mandate? What other stories are you hearing from people when you talk to them Is it just that they're being beaten down by the lockdowns, businesses closed? What do you hear from people? Because surely what's going on here is more than just about one industry being made to get a jab to go back to work.
Sure, it's a wide range of issues. One of the main, I think, issues is that people feel like their rights are being encroached upon. I think some people are coming just as an act of civil disobedience because they believe that they have a right to be there to protest. And I think that's one of the main kind of threads that combines people, together at those events. Obviously, there's a lot of discontent with the current government, with Daniel Andrews. That's a common theme. Vaccine passports. I think a lot of people are just worried. You have to understand that protests, sometimes people come just to show support. So this is just a way of people in the community who are going through the same thing coming together to show people that, they support each other. And that's why I'm, out there trying to capture that as well. I think that's important.
Rakshan, fantastic chatting to you. Obviously, we're not encouraging anyone to break the law, but you're out there doing a valuable job. It's not a safe job. You've already had the police put pepper spray into your eyes. As I mentioned before, Andy No, good friend of this show, who turned up only hours after having been attacked by Antifa at one stage. So I urge you, please keep safe, Rakshan. Congratulations on the great work you're doing and from all your fans, and I'm sure you'll have many more outsiders going to look on YouTube for the real Rakshan. There he is. Thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, Rakshan.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Thank you very much.